The manhwa begins with a crowd staring at someone, and in the middle of it all, a voice calls out that now it is the turn of the Imperial Palace's Highness, Princess Asha. She steps forward and sees that the pool in front of her is filled with water. She touches the surface and checks, yep, it's actually ice cold. Asha, on the other hand, low-key misses her mom and dad way too much. She just wants to go back home, chill with them, and maybe bake a cake. But since she is already stuck at the Imperial Palace, she figures at least some hot chocolate will slap right now. And after that, maybe some chocolate lava cake with sugar sprinkles on top, because obviously, that combo is going to be a total chef's kiss. She decides she is just going to get done with this palace business and then bounce straight back to her own home. Back to present, we see Irina fixing the roof when she suddenly spots Asha and greets her warmly. Then, with zero hesitation, she scoops her up, and the two of them head inside the house. The moment they enter, a mouth-watering smell fills the air. Ural comments that Irina did some good work and asks both of them to come sit down. He then takes Asha from Irina's arms with that dad reflex energy. Irina mentions that it seems like Mr. Arden gave them really good quality meat yesterday, which explains why today's stew is fancy enough to have actual meat in it. Asha notices, though, that only she got meat in her bowl, while Irina and Ural's bowls are suspiciously meat-free. Ural offers her the first bite, calling her his little princess, but Asha pulls the ultimate polite daughter move and refuses, insisting that they should be the first ones to eat. Irina smiles and says fine, she will take the first bite, and then casually points out to Ural that the Asha coming spirit ceremony is going to happen soon. Ural tells her not to stress because Max already told him he would help her, so she doesn't need to worry too much about that whole thing. Asha, still curious, questions Ural about what exactly this spirit ceremony even is. Ural explains that it is basically where she will make a new friend. But Asha is like, nope, hard pass, she does not need any new friends. That line hits like a jump scare for Irina, and just like that, both mom and dad start tearing up. Compared to the rest of the village, their house is way more rural, basically sitting on the outskirts and on the verge of collapsing. Even though they are literally the poorest in the entire area, poverty isn't the reason she has no friends. Instead, it's because of her parents being, well, the most unusual couple ever. They habitually hire musicians despite being broke. The father plays music or paints in his free time like some artsy bohemian, and the mother has a crazy knack for swordsmanship, even though commoners wouldn't normally even get to touch a sword or an instrument. Yet both parents are ridiculously talented and, to top it all off, their daughter is straight up unbelievable, like reincarnation level unbelievable. So while her father is kind of immature, her parents somehow convince themselves that everything is her fault, and they carry this low-key guilt vibe with them all the time. Even now, Ural tells Asha that they are going to make sure she has the prettiest spirit ceremony ever. She replies that, in that case, she wants the white dandelion. Ural kisses her and promises, of course, to get her not just one but hundreds of dandelions. Suddenly, the door bursts open and someone barges into their house. Irina immediately stands up with her sword, ready for combat. The knights step in and say they are sorry for the sudden intrusion, but they have urgent business. Irina shouts at Ural to grab Asha and escape through the back door. Ural dashes off with Asha in his arms, and Asha can't help but notice that her usually weak father is running insanely fast. She starts wondering if her dad is secretly part of some revolutionary army and if maybe the knights are here to arrest him. But then, she sees the knights are already here, and Irina is still standing there with them. Asha gets really sad, thinking that if her mom gets caught, everything will fall apart. The knights, however, declare loudly that they have to escort Asha to the Imperial Palace, leaving her completely stunned, like her whole world just got flipped upside down in real time. At the Imperial Palace, the names of all the royal family members are being called one by one, while Asha is begging the universe that this whole thing has to be a dream. The kids around her start murmuring that she must be their cousin, because otherwise, why would she even be here? But they have never seen her before, and from the way they wrinkle their noses, it's obvious they don't like her. To them, she is stinky, too thin, and just not it. Asha, on the other hand, is clearly in denial, spiraling with the thought that she might actually be the villainess. Like, excuse me? In the story she remembers, there was an ordinary woman who had the blessings of vitality and stability, plus a male lead with an unstable yet powerful future. Of course, 1,000 difficulties tried to keep them apart, but the two overcame everything and managed to stay together. Asha wishes so badly that she could have been that ordinary girl instead. But no plot twist, she's the villainess. Not just any villainess, either. She's literally one of the biggest obstacles standing between the main couple's love story, the Imperial Palace, and the male lead, Alexei. And guess what? She's his younger cousin. Yeah, tragic. In this world, if someone has the power of a rare spirit, even a regular citizen can glow up and become successful. But if someone ends up with a weak spirit, life gets 10 times harder even for nobles. And within the imperial family, it's even more cutthroat. Whoever makes a contract with the strongest spirit becomes the next emperor, while all the others get chased out of the palace like yesterday's trash. Asha knows that her family's poverty is the direct result of this system. Her father was kicked out after failing the spirit game. Because of that, she grew up broke. But she also knows how she turned her life around later when she managed to make a contract with a special spirit. For a while, she got to taste the sweetness of life. Still, she acted way too boldly when she attempted to take the right to the throne using her spirit's power. That move backfired hard. As retribution for her deeds, she met a wretched end. Even so, she was able to live 10 years of life with fleeting sweetness, without ever knowing her family's secrets. Just thinking that she is actually the imperial niece Asha, the girl doomed to meet despair, is enough to make her stomach drop. She can't even remember the content or the exact title of the story she once read or watched 10 years ago in her past life. But she is convinced of one thing: she should have gotten reincarnated into some popular work where she could live a chill second life and score a happy ending with her love by using her past knowledge. Instead, she rolled unlucky gacha and ended up in this script. The entirety of her last life is full of suffering, and she is determined to live well after that. That's why God has reincarnated her. But even now, she knows she can't fulfill someone's request of getting her desert's bakery, and she is really losing it. Then she suddenly slaps her face, because maybe, just maybe, it could be that they just happen to have the same names, and it might not be the exact story that she knows. But nope. The very next moment it is announced that the king and his highness are here, and it is obvious to her that she is really in the same story she remembers. The emperor and the crown prince Alex enter the place, and the way that Alex is coming through, strutting like some TikTok main character, it is painfully obvious that he is the protagonist. She can't believe it. Like, why would the real Asha even try to fight a guy like him? That's straight up asking for a death wish. The king announces the start of the ceremony. One by one, all the royal children finish their ceremony, and now it is finally Asha's turn. She goes and sits in the water pond, and while sitting there she misses her mom and dad so much. She really just wants to live with her parents and vibe in peace, so she is low-key praying that she gets a simple, boring little spirit. Definitely not like that super crazy bird that Asha gets in the book. She opens her eyes, and for some reason, she is able to taste something really sweet. But the heck? When she opens them fully, she sees a really big bird standing right in front of her face. She can't believe this, absolutely not, because she really cannot afford to get anything like this right now. A physical spirit like this will automatically force her to live in the palace, and then she will have to compete with Alex, which is basically signing up for an early ending. So she starts shouting at the bird, like full-on panic mode. Then Asha sees that the little spirit suddenly transforms into a tiny bird. She is taken aback because she clearly had no idea that the spirit could do that. She tells the spirit that it is already cute, but she still wants something really, really small, like button-sized. After thinking for a while, the spirit actually changes into a button and attaches itself to Asha's clothes. She is super confused, but she decides this is not the right time to overthink stuff because staying here too long will make her look suspicious. Outside, the priest checks on her and asks if she made any kind of contract with the spirit. Asha replies no. Then he asks if she can do any kind of power, but she just shakes her head no, looking like a poor little powerless NPC. To them, it really seems like she got no power at all. The priest reassures her that it is alright, and tells her she can meet Marquis Ser as her wind and her spirit of discretion. He then asks her to wait here for a moment. But this moment makes Asha want to just lay down and die, because she seriously did not know that a spirit like this even existed. The Marquis comes in all smiling, and it is clear that no matter what she does, she is going to get caught in the end. The Marquis is here to see what kind of spirit Asha has gotten, but he himself is thinking that she must have received a really simple spirit. But when Asha hears the name Marquis Ser, she starts wondering if he is the same Marquis that her dad used to talk about back in the day. Ser asks the priest if he is seriously asking him to check this little girl's spirit, but he agrees anyway. After all, he was asked to attend this ceremony for a reason. Meanwhile, Asha is thinking that maybe she should have just told them the truth from the beginning instead of spiraling like this. Ser reaches for her head, but then he flinches the second he realizes her spirit. He smiles and says that she got a cute little bird, and it sure suits her. He then tells everyone that she made a contract with a small bird. Asha, however, is confused, wondering what actually just happened, because wasn't he supposed to have the power of discretion? If he really can't find another person's spirit using his own ability, then what's going on here? This really gets to her, and she can't decide if she should feel relieved about it or even more stressed. Finally, the king gets up, and Asha is absolutely losing it. Like, if the king is going to talk with all of them individually, then it is obviously going to be her turn soon. As soon as he walks toward her, she panics, wondering why this old man is not saying anything. It seems like he really doesn't think of her as his grandchild, because after all, he has a bunch of grandchildren already. He asks her what was the last thing her parents said to her before she came here. Asha replies that they told her to stay well and to return back quickly. He then asks her if she wants to go back, and she replies with a definite yes. The king actually smiles at this, and then he leaves, while Asha is left standing there, wondering if this is really over. Asha is wondering if she's finally going back home now, but plot twist, she's seen lying in a cozy bed that is clearly not her crusty little home bed. It's way too fancy, like Pinterest aesthetic vibes. She side-eyes her maid Reese and straight up asks if now that the ceremony is over, can she pack up and dip back home. Reese, being all soft and mysterious, throws it back at her like, if she actually want to go back home, but then adds a tempting little flex here. Asha can eat literally anything she wants, like full buffet vibes, all her fave foods, no questions asked. But Asha, being the stubborn little bean she is, says she wants to see her mom and dad. Reese just smiles like she's holding back spoilers and says that soon her mom and dad are going to come here anyway. And apparently, if Asha sleeps here for 10 days, she'll be able to see them. Except correction, it's actually more like 5 nights, and one of them already passed, so math check, 4 nights left. It's going to end real soon. Asha, however, is in her head like, wow, Reese is really treating her like a literal toddler with this bedtime math game. Like sis, calm down. Also, it has already been 6 days since she arrived here, and even her parents left just yesterday. So, hello, it is not going to take them 5 whole days to pull up here. But at the same time, she doesn't want to be that one annoying kid who causes trouble for the kind Reese. So she just speedruns her bedtime routine and pretends to sleep like a pro. Reese then tells her she's going back to the kitchen to do some work, so if Asha needs anything, she can just ring the bell. Asha's brain instantly glitches. Why would this maid be going to the kitchen this late at night? Like, is she about to Gordon Ramsay it up at 2 a.m.? Reese explains that up until now, the Empire was busy fighting an actual war, and what they're referring to now is prepping for a massive celebration party. And not just any party, this one so extra that even Carnot is going to be there. She says goodnight and dips. Asha is left wide-eyed in bed like, oh cool, Carnot's coming, nice wait. The name clicks in her brain like a horror jump scare. She immediately jolts upright in bed, eyes popping out like she just saw spoilers for her own life. Meanwhile, on another panel, we cut to the man himself, this mysterious Carnot, already on his way, strutting like the main character energy he clearly has. As soon as Asha hears this name, her brain hits replay mode and suddenly all the lore about him comes back crystal clear, like she just binge-read the wiki page yesterday. Carnot, the successor of the Nudisty family, Alex's close buddy, and oh yeah, the actual rightful owner of the throne. But he straight up gave it up and backed Alex instead. Not only that, the dude literally donated all his merit points and army clout to Alex like some overpowered sugar daddy of politics. And Asha remembers vividly how many times she came crashing into his orbit like a chaotic little comet, only for him to look at her like he wanted to grind her bones into protein powder and sip it with his morning coffee. He's also the one who pressed the speed up button on her ruin, accelerating it like 2x playback. So yeah, in short, terrifying man, major red flag energy. But Asha tries to calm herself down. She's like, nope, not meeting him, thank you very much. She's going home before that whole mess even happens. With that comforting thought, she plans to just knock out because she's already spent the whole day being a bundle of nerves. Then she spots her little bird and casually tells it she's about to sleep. Except the bird starts tugging at her clothes like some feisty toddler. She hisses at it to stop pulling her dress before it rips because hello, silk is not cheap, and also screams internally, where on earth is this stupid thing dragging her at this ungodly hour? She can't just be wandering around like this, she's supposed to keep a low profile. But nope, the bird does not care. It drags her all the way to the kitchen and then drop moment it throws a big chocolate bar right in front of her. Asha just stands there blinking like, "Excuse me?" She asks this bird where on earth it even got chocolate from. Her eyes start scanning the kitchen. Everything's here full baking station vibes. Then she notices the white stuff, takes a tiny bite, and it taste test approved. It's so good. Her tongue doesn't get gooey at all, it's just this light, sweet perfection. She's like, wow, okay, this is clearly from some freshly harvested, high-end sugar stash. We're talking super expensive startup product vibes. Her taste buds are legit celebrating like they just won a lottery. The bird starts peeping at her insistently, and it suddenly dawns on her, oh no. This little gremlin actually went and brought her this top-tier ingredient because it wants her to make a cake. A cake. For a bird. Meanwhile, Asha is on the verge of face-palming herself into another dimension because hello, she doesn't even know what's going to happen to her tomorrow, and here she is being voluntold to bake. If she gets caught messing around like this in the kitchen, attention is going to rain on her like confetti, and that is the last thing she wants. She is not even sure if she is going to die just like the original Asha died, but again she might not be able to bake a cake like this if she goes to her old poor house, and she will not be able to see such great ingredients. She thinks to herself that since everyone is busy for the ball, they will not even notice her. After thinking about it for a while, she decides to make it under the pretext that she is making this for the grandfather. So the first thing she needs right now is the scale, because this is not something that she can just put to her instincts. But someone looks at her, asking what a little kid like her is doing in this place and which palace she belongs to, because he has never heard of any kid here. She says to him that she is Asha. The chef shouts that he does not care who she is, but she dares to step into his kitchen and make a mess around. The chef shouts again, asking what this brat child is doing. Asha brings it with her. Asha says more like this bird brings her here. The chef lashes out, demanding how she dares to bring an animal into the kitchen, because the only birds that are allowed to come into this kitchen are either future birds or dead birds. He finally understands too that this is not some kind of sleep bird but a spirit. Asha looks, and finally her little bird has won this match. The chef, all defeated, orders Asha to take this with her and leave right now. But seeing her bird, an idea comes to her. She says to the chef that if he allows her to bake something here for once, she is going to leave. But he shouts that there is no way. Yet he gets another hit from the bird, so he sighs that only for once. She also needs to make her bird go calm, and she will need to clean this kitchen before going back. And so she also asks him to bring out the scale for her. She ties her hair up while the chef asks her what exactly she wants to make, even offering to help her out with this mysterious little project. But instead of answering properly, she flips the question back at him, asking if he even knows what baking is. The way his face reacts makes it clear that he actually doesn't, and she can't believe it. So she just tells him to go boil some water. The chef is absolutely not vibing with this situation like, excuse me? This tiny thing doesn't even know how to cook, and somehow he, the grand chef, is being treated like some kitchen errand boy. Still, he takes some eggs from her, muttering that at least he can handle cracking those much. He cracks them open, but then his curiosity gets the better of him and he again asks what exactly she's planning to make. Asha casually tells him that it's something similar to a chocolate cake. She even shows him the chocolate bar, which blows his mind, because how on earth is she casually pulling out something this rare in his kitchen? The chef gets low-key pissed, remembering how earlier this little menace kept kicking him around, and now she's dropping bitter, exotic ingredients like it's no big deal. He thinks that he's heard in the southern lands people grind it with sugar or honey to drink, but he personally finds it way too bitter. He admits it's insanely bitter, but he couldn't throw it out since the Baron had specifically told him it was a valuable item. Asha tastes it herself and instantly yikes it out, her face full of regret. The chef is absolutely having fun watching her reaction, teasing her like, yeah, girl, eat that bitter nightmare. But she ignores him and just asks when he's finally going to bring her the water. He scoffs hard, muttering that if it wasn't for that annoying little bird, he would never have been stuck doing this. She then starts her real work double boiling 220 rassos of chocolate with 220 rassos of butter, measuring carefully like she's in some reality baking show. She adds about 50 rassos of cream, while the chef begrudgingly does the mixing for her, acting like he's way too important for this task but still doing it. Together, they pour the batter into the mold, but then Asha suddenly realizes she forgot to preheat the oven. Big oops moment. The chef gets all cocky about it, asking if she seriously thought he was the type of guy who would lower the temperature of his oven for her convenience. She straight up questions him if he doesn't actually preheat, which makes him stop in his tracks. He is totally taken aback because he wonders if she's some sort of ancient grandma from 500 years ago, because otherwise how could she know something like this? He grumbles that if he doesn't preheat, then he has to waste so many magic stones just to turn the oven on properly again. Asha is honestly shook, realizing that they actually use magic stones instead of firewood. With that revelation swirling in her head, she carefully slides the mold into the oven, thinking that this world's kitchen logic is seriously built different. The chef is absolutely fuming, thinking to himself that this little gremlin doesn't even know how an oven works yet has the audacity to claim she's a baker. He explains, with full-on condescending pride, that this oven is operated using heat from magic stones. By grinding refined magic stones into powder and using it as a base material, they make the wiring system. Asha asks if they can even adjust the temperature with such a setup, and he immediately puffs up with pride, declaring that of course they can. But since magic stones are ridiculously expensive, they keep the oven burning 24 hours a day instead of wasting resources turning it off. Asha is like, okay, pretending to understand, while the chef scoffs and tells her to quit acting like she gets it. The oven does its thing, the sand travels down for a specified time, and then the bell goes off once the baking is done. Asha looks at the oven and starts smiling, which makes the chef pause and ask why this little gremlin is grinning all of a sudden. When the cakes finally come out, Asha is in awe, staring at them like their treasure. The chef bursts out laughing, teasing her for being so amazed when she's the one who actually made it. Asha admits shyly that it's her first time making one, leaving the chef completely confused. She claimed she had never seen this type of oven before, nor worked with sugar and cream, yet somehow she managed to whip up such a snack in such a short time. After a little decorating, it's finally time to taste it. The chef takes the first scoop, but the second he sees the molten chocolate inside, he accuses her that it looks undercooked. Asha rolls her eyes and explains that the creamy filling inside is exactly how it's supposed to be eaten. She takes a bite herself, and oh boy, it's heavenly. Even before reincarnating into this world, she could barely afford simple cookies, let alone touch such premium ingredients. Now she feels her body practically melting with each bite, and she knows this is going to pair perfectly with a cup of coffee. She then glances at the chef, who's already deep in love with the cake, devouring it like it's his soulmate. He asks her what this dish is called. Asha smugly decides that since his name is Pavel, they're going to name it Pavel Chocolate. Pavel immediately huffs in outrage, demanding how dare she slap the kitchen head's name on a dessert. Asha cheekily asks him if he has any oranges lying around. Pavel says of course, pointing toward the refrigerator, then narrows his eyes, wondering why she's even asking that. A complete silence follows until she smugly drops the bomb that an orange version would taste even better. Pavel has had enough of this chaos and kicks her out of the kitchen after some time. But the moment she leaves, the butler bursts in, frantic, announcing that the king wants a snack immediately. Realizing that Pavel isn't in the kitchen, the butler panics hard. There's an order for a snack and nothing is ready. His eyes dart toward the lava cake on the counter, and he assumes the chef must have made it beforehand. Thinking quickly, he decides it has to be milk on the side as well. So yup, just like that, the lava cake is carried off to be served to the king. The king is analyzing the matters of war when he points out that the war with the elves is almost over, and it seems like Carnot has done a great job. Alex then adds that he has heard there was a slave among those days brought by Carnot, and just as the king has asked him to forgive the sins of the slaves, it is revealed that they are children who have only recently turned 10 years old. Although the sins of their parents were severe, as servants of Igor, all that they did was embroidery as they were asked to do. The king considers this and asks himself if Alex is trying to say that it is not a crime that they were ignorant enough to embroider the sentence that was intended for calling the darkness. That ignorance resulted in embroidery that caused the death of 300 of their civilians, and so he reflects on this and questions Alex about what he is planning to do in such a matter. Alex replies that what kills people is not the sword but the one who holds the intent behind it, and he thinks that it would be better to punish the person instead. The king, however, points out that it is normal to kill the beasts that bite humans and to break down and melt the swords in the furnace once those swords have stabbed people, even if the ones who hold them are spared. He adds that even if Alex saves that low life, it is not certain that they will show any gratitude to his kindness. Alex admits that he did not think about that. The low-life's parents already died for the sin of being ignorant, and they have already killed Igor, who ordered it, by ripping off his limbs. The king sighs deeply and asks what Alex is trying to achieve by saving that young child. The king continues, pointing out that the young one's parents were executed for bringing darkness and secretly communicating with the Noctics, so that child cannot live in the north anymore since no government officials would ever use him as a servant. There are no parents left for him and no orphanages that would take him in, so the king reflects and asks Alex what he is going to do if he saves that child, because he will starve on the streets regardless. Seeing Alex sigh at this, the king looks at him and remarks that since that slave and Ural's daughter are both the same age, he thinks they are going to get along quite well. The atmosphere turns truly dark now, so Alex remarks that if that is the case, then he is going to make sure that the slave does not yet before he can continue. The king interrupts him, saying that he is truly tired of this case and so they should discuss the celebration of the imperial army that has just returned from the north. At that very moment, the butler comes in and announces that he has brought the snacks, and he presents a cake to them. The king observes it carefully and mentions that he has never seen anything like this before. Both the king and the crown prince take a bite, and their reaction is speechless. In the same time that Pavel has gone out to look for oranges, 1 or 2 cakes have already gone missing, and since he has not returned, Asha wonders if she should bake again from the leftover batter. She plans to hand it to Pavel once he comes back. The butler then comes once more, bursting into the kitchen, and there he sees Asha. He asks her if she has happened to see Pavel. She replies that actually Pavel has gone out to search for the thief who has stolen their cakes. The butler loses his breath as he questions her, realizing that the cake was meant for the king. All confused, Asha explains to him that she had no idea about that, so it was given to the king, and now he is asking about that cake and who made it. Asha begins to lose her composure, wondering what kind of joke is going around. She cannot believe that the 2 cakes that went missing were sent to the emperor. That is why Pavel had jumped around like that when the cakes went missing. If he is being called for something good, it will be a relief, but if it is something that brings punishment, it would be unbearable. After all, it was something she begged Pavel to make, so if punishment is handed down, he will suffer for her request. At this point, she confesses to the butler that she is actually the one who made that cake. She admits openly that she is the grandchild of the king and that she baked it because she wanted to make cookies for him. The butler apologizes to her for not being able to recognize her. She then asks him anxiously if her grandfather has gotten sick from eating that stuff. The butler shakes his head and says that he does not know about such a thing, because from generation to generation, His Imperial Highness has held a contract with the Spirit King, and therefore he is immune to poison or substances that would normally harm the body. His expression was the same as always too, and that expression makes it understandable that one would not notice anything unusual. Asha nods, but she says that whatever the case, they should go, since the king is calling for them. The butler guides her forward, questioning softly if she is really going to be okay. She herself does not know, but she realizes that if she does not smile, the king will surely recognize that she is nervous. When they arrive, the king is told that Asha is here. The king then asks the butler that he was supposed to bring the chef, so why has he come with Asha instead? She says to the king that this is right, she made this for him, and the king closes his book, all like wait, she actually made it? Asha gets all apologetic, insisting that it is really not Pavel's mistake, because she was the one who distracted him and made him forget to lend his kitchen to her. She worked super hard to make it, because she wanted to give His Majesty something before she left the palace. The king then asks her if she is trying to imply that her father didn't teach her how to read or write, but instead only taught her how to bake. She says not at all, because at their place they didn't get anything fancy like butter or sugar. Back at home all they used to eat was carrot porridge, straight up brocore vibes. She then looks at the cup, feeling relieved and hyped that at least the king ate the whole thing. Seeing how he cleared it all, it seems like he must have liked it, so it doesn't look like she is going to get punished. She gets all excited and blurts that actually, at home they had a baking book filled with tons of pictures, and it was fun, so she studied a lot from it. The king agrees that it was really great, the cake was legit amazing, and wonders how she even managed to make that dark color. She explains that actually, they got the chocolate from the Baron, and the king nods, agreeing that it must have been Baron Sama's contribution. He then points out that since she gave him something, he is going to return the favor, and says that in a few days an item will be arriving for her, so she is going to get something. She quickly says no, not at all, because Pavel also helped her a lot, and she is already heading back home. But then she notices something while the king is speaking, saying that he is going to give something to Pavel too. She notes that his shawl just moved, and if he didn't notice it, then maybe it is not just her imagination. The king then tells the butler to take her back to her room, since it is getting late, and as the butler politely insists she return, Asha is left wondering if this guy also doesn't see that strange thing she felt. She honestly has no clue what this weird vibe is, but she leaves anyway. The king then calls out to his spirit, Shamal, and Shamal asks him what is up, all like spill the tea, bestie. The king asks if the spirit has seen the child, and Shamal tilts his head, questioning if he is talking about that peach-like child. Shamal thinks about it. Her peachy hair color and those green eyes do, in fact, resemble a peach, and Shamal admits that he was really interested in her, so much so that he even wanted to touch her. The king then questions what exactly he finds interesting in her, after he himself has lived repping centuries upon centuries. Shamal says that it was indeed interesting, because it is the first time ever that someone showed even the tiniest bit of interest in him. Asha was only interested in knowing whether he was interested in sweets, and not in his power or his status. Shamal then wonders aloud if she is really going to get a gift from the king, but the king shakes his head, saying that to him, it felt more like she was only interested in going back home. The king adds that this trait of hers is strikingly similar to Ural. Shamal asks if he is talking about his youngest son, the one who ran away. Shamal then drops the big question, asking if the peach girl could be Ural's daughter. The king explains that actually, that child got contracted with the bird. Shamal quickly asks who told him she made a contract with that bird. The king says it was the Marquis, because the Marquis has made a contract with the inside spirit. Shamal replies that in that case, the inside spirit cannot possibly be wrong. Now that he thinks about it, it might really be correct. The king tells him that, for the first time, he is seeing Shamal uncertain. Shamal admits it is true, but points out that although this riddle is going to get solved sooner or later, one thing is already definite: the Marquis cares way too much about that little girl. Meanwhile, on the other side of the palace, Asha is lying in her bed. She is completely tired out, because she was almost about to get in serious trouble, and right now it feels like she just lost 10 years of her life in pure stress. She is crying and ranting, asking why the hell no one ever listens to a single thing she says, and why they keep pushing her when all she wants is for them to just let her go. She is getting this horrible gut feeling that her going back home is being postponed yet again. But since it has already been pushed back, she just hopes that the king gives her something she can exchange for money. She is already planning, sell whatever it is, buy butter and sugar, and if there's still money left, fix the roof too. She gets up all flustered, scolding her bird and saying that this mess is all happening because of him. But the bird, acting all sassy, says that it was her who wanted to make the cake in the first place. She screams out too loud in frustration, and the volume of her voice makes her stop and think, wondering if anyone like Ray might hear her if she keeps being that loud. Suddenly, she hears something strange, making her wonder if she is just imagining sounds. But the bird tells her that it is not the case. Then, out of nowhere, the bird emerges properly and introduces himself with full dramatic flair as the great bird spirit. Asha straight up roasts the little bird, saying it is him who's dumb and asking why he stayed quiet till now. The bird, all puffed up with feathers and pride, claims it's because her power is weak. Like bruh, that's his excuse? He blames her low-level snack-starved energy for his late entrance. Asha just scoffs, and basically calls out his incompetence. She's not about to let him throw shade for her being too broke to munch on snacks. The bird snaps back, telling her to keep it shut because she's rude AF. Asha raises an eyebrow, questioning whether spirits can even talk in the first place. The bird claps back like it's the most obvious thing ever, accusing her of looking down on the sacred beings. But Asha's brain goes galaxy mode. She remembers in the original novel how the spirit ceremony was supposed to be this bougie rite of passage, a blessing and power awakening for kids hitting 10. Some lucky ones would get that sparkle upgrade by being blessed with spirits. So for Asha, having a spirit with an actual material body feels like she scored VIP backstage passes in life, basically flexing that she's built different. The bird, however, insists this is only because all the other kids are idiots. Asha snorts, saying if that's the case then clearly he's only talking because she's smart. The bird shrieks back that no, it's because he's the best spirit ever, duh. That's when Asha connects dots and asks if the OG moment where she was making colors around Pavel was actually his doing. The bird, smug, and asks her if she can already see people's emotions. Turns out, that's one of his so-called superpowers. Asha's brain buffer crashes. She's able to literally see emotions in the form of colors. That is low-key wild. She bombards the chick with questions like a toddler hopped on soda, rapid-fire interrogating him until the bird loses it, flapping around angrily and yelling that she needs to chill. One question at a time, please. Asha laughs at his tantrum but still tells him to explain everything properly. So the bird explains that the better she gets at it, the easier it'll be for her to control. Eventually, she'll be able to pick when she wants to sense emotions and even crank it up so others can experience an entire different world. Wild flex. The chick might look like a fluffy baby nugget, but he's full of himself, practically strutting like a diva in a reality show. Asha narrows her eyes and asks what exactly she needs to get good at. The chick answers like it's the most obvious thing ever, controlling her spirit power. Asha, unimpressed, pushes further. How does she even train for that? And the chick just deadpans that it's her problem to figure out. After an awkward silence, Asha clocks it instantly. This featherball has no clue either. He's just bluffing hard. Still, he acts bold, claiming it's too obvious to bother explaining, and besides, why should he even care? Then he tries to flex his resume. He's not only about power, but he's also the one who baked those cakes, plus he can cook, paint, play music, and even dance. Asha bursts into a scoff, roasting him again, saying it must have been him who dropped the eggshell in the batter then. The chick combusts in outrage, shrieking that everything she says is either mean or stupid. And despite her having such cracked powers, he can't exercise them beyond his medium's capacity, aka her. No matter how hard he tries, it's impossible because she's the one running the show. Asha smirks, twisting the knife with sass, saying that means everything they do is because of her anyway. So clearly, she's the one who's amazing, and the bird is basically just a glorified recipe book. The bird huffs dramatically, demanding how dare she treat him like that when he is the almighty great spirit. Asha, on the other side, declares that she's going to bake at least 10 cakes a day now. The bird claps back instantly that she's delusional. The audacity of this tiny featherball is unreal. Asha is out here overthinking again, saying she should at least consider things more seriously. Then she hits the bird with a savage line. It's all because she ended up contracting with a little thing like him. Only those who form contracts with great spirits are allowed to truly stay here. The bird, clearly offended, puffs up and shrieks that she's talking nonsense because he is the almighty spirit. Asha waves him off, clarifying that she's not talking about him, but about the true kings of the spirits: water, fire, wind, and earth. The king himself is tied to the king of wind, and Alex has a shiny contract with the king of fire. The bird calls those spirits idiots who can't do anything without him. Then he jumps dramatically, declaring that if she doubts his worth just because of his small bean size, he'll simply return to his original big form. Asha screams in a way at the top of her lungs, but the bird ignores her and flies off to morph. Except nothing changes. He's still the same tiny nugget. He tries again. Still nothing. He tries a third time. Instead of growing, he somehow gets even smaller. Asha loses it, shouting at him to stop because every attempt is literally shrinking him further. The bird, mortified, starts crying big fat anime tears, thinking about the humiliation he has to endure, all thanks to Asha. He cannot believe this is his life now. Asha is equally pissed, yelling that it's not her fault he can't glow up to his proper size. The bird just mutters whatever and sulks back inside her badge, ghosting her like a salty roommate. Asha lies there in disbelief. Her so-called almighty spirit just yelled at her and then rage quit into hiding. She shrugs, deciding she's fine with it anyway because she was about to pass out for sleep too. Next morning, chaos continues. Asha is throwing a full-on tantrum because it's supposed to be winter, but the land is literally baking like an oven. She's sweating buckets, stomping around, screaming that this is unholy weather. The spirit bird, now peeking out again, casually explains that it feels like this because the fire spirit must be way too hyped about finally meeting its contract partner. That fire spirit is Fanfur, the one bonded to Alex. The bird goes on to explain that Fanfur is still young, a hot-headed ball of flames, literally, and can't control his excitement. Asha, half melting, begs the bird to go ask his friend to chill out because this heat is gonna roast her alive. The bird shrugs, saying he can't do anything. Fanfur is just immature like that. Asha groans, when suddenly her brain lights up with a random thought. Maybe the brownie she baked yesterday with leftover batter has gone bad. She rushes to check, only to find it's still perfectly fine. Relieved, she even offers a piece to the bird, trying to play nice for once. Then, curious, she points out that if Alex's spirit is called Fanfur, then what's his name? The bird replies that he doesn't have one, nor does he need one, since he is the greatest spirit of sensation. Asha smirks wickedly and declares that in that case, she's naming him PB. The bird practically short-circuits, shrieking that he already told her he doesn't need a name, and he can't believe she's naming him after the little pie bird topper people use to keep pies from exploding. Fueled by rage, the bird pecks her foot to take out his anger. Asha yelps, and suddenly they're full-on scrapping, rolling around like a chaotic cartoon duo. She finally snaps, saying this is not working at all. They need rules, ground rules, boundaries, because otherwise, this partnership is going to implode faster than her oven when someone forgets the eggshells. The little bird grows dizzy, yet in his flustered state he still declares that it is outrageous for her to speak in such a manner to the almighty spirit of sensation. Asha, entirely unfazed, points out that there are rules he must follow. The first rule, she explains, is that he needs to act like a bird whenever he is in the form of a bird. The second rule, she continues, is that he must remain fixed in this chosen appearance and never shift into a different bird at will. The third rule, she insists firmly, is that he must never tear her clothes with his beak. The bird listens to this long list with growing irritation and questions her directly in his own way, wondering whether she is even making rules at all, because to him these sound more like demands. Asha, however, counters immediately, telling him that if he considers them demands, then he is welcome to voice his own demands in return. The bird does not hold back. His first condition is that she must not pick him up and shake him around, a humiliation he finds unbearable. Asha only sighs, pointing out that this entirely depends on his own behavior. If he acts accordingly, she will not need to do so. The bird, not entirely satisfied, adds another stipulation. Asha, he declares, will have to bake bread every single day and share her baked goods with everyone in the palace. Asha's eyes widen at this, and she quickly argues that she cannot possibly manage to bake something every day. The bird, however, questions this with surprising persistence, reminding her that she likes baking, so why is she refusing to do it every day? Asha admits with some exasperation that it is because of certain adult matters, things beyond his understanding. Then, half curious, she asks whether the real reason behind his demand is simply that he enjoys her cooking because she is good at it. The bird scoffs at her assumption. This, he says, is not the case at all. In fact, he explains that the true reason lies in something far more important. They need to do it because this is part of their mission. Asha can hardly believe her ears. She cannot comprehend how something so trivial, so mundane, could possibly be considered a mission. To bake food and hand it out to others? To her, this sounds absurd and almost laughable. The bird, however, insists that it does not necessarily have to be cookies. There are other options. Asha, still doubtful, presses him further, questioning him carefully about what exactly it is that he wants her to do. Only then does the bird reveal the truth. His powers, he explains, are directly connected to the realm of senses, and through this unique ability, he can create a link that allows humans and spirits to communicate with one another. If Asha were to channel this power into her cooking, then anyone who eats the food she prepares would be able to connect and speak with their spirits as well. This revelation leaves Asha startled, for she had not expected such a strange, yet strangely profound explanation behind the so-called mission. Asha questions whether the bird's plan is merely about fostering good relationships. The bird grows snappish and insists that his scheme is far grander. She will understand when the right time comes. He is furious, convinced he is acting for her sake, and he demands that she forget her objections and prepare a comfortable bed where he can sleep. Asha thinks that after selling the king's gift she should also add a birdcage to the list. Suddenly the maid bursts into the room bearing a spray of flowers that fills the space with sudden, effusive cheer. Asha wonders if this, too, is the work of her power. The maid is almost breathless with excitement as she tries to deliver her news, but Asha is already sinking into dread, convinced that whatever comes next will be something she will not like. The maid grows more animated and insists joyfully and emphatically that the king has permitted Asha to remain at the imperial palace to study. Asha goes pale. She cannot fathom why they would allow her to stay, and the news reads like an echo from the original novel she is trying to escape. She feels rooted, as if she will rot in place despite every attempt to flee her assigned fate. She imagines the sequence everyone seems to presume: a scrape with Alex, a downfall at the hands of Carnot, an inevitable collapse. The maid watches Asha's face with worry, uncertain whether Asha likes the dress she wears or whether she should fetch another gown for the occasion. Asha assures her that she genuinely loves the dress, and the maid vows dutifully to handle the preparations for her. They exchange hurried goodbyes. Asha feels an ache when she remembers the brownies she packed earlier, the small consolation she keeps for moments of despair. Sweets, she thinks, are the most certain cure for melancholy, and yet even that solace feels precarious now. She forces herself to go for a walk, telling herself that maturity will one day free her from this place, but then the thought intrudes that in the original story she dies before that maturity arrives. Still, she tries to be hopeful, clinging to the fact that nothing has yet gone wrong and that, at least for the moment, no one seems the wiser. As she moves outside, she hears a commotion. Someone is shouting. A boy lashes out, railing about why he must leave when she, Asha, and that foolish little bird are allowed to live here. The butler apologizes to the boy and explains in a low voice that the matter should be taken up again with the king. Asha thinks it would have been better had someone steadier stayed, someone like that man, who might have moderated the anger instead of letting it flare. The little bird, offended by the boy's words, flutters forward and intervenes with indignation. The boy, fuming, accuses Asha of disgracing his family by contracting with the bird. He struggles free of the butler's grasp and lashes toward her. PB, perhaps, shouts in disbelief at Asha's posture as the boy advances. As the boy springs at her, she slips something into his mouth. He lets out a surprised, outraged cry, the sound of indignation and shock, while the small, strange drama of the palace continues to unfold around them. The butler and the maid rush toward him, asking if he is fine, while Asha slyly asks the little boy if he actually finds that stuff delicious. He turns all flustered and shakes his head again, like, bruh, why the hell did she just put that in his mouth? Asha chuckles and reveals that it was the brownie she made. The boy immediately acts as if he is about to puke, demanding in his expression why anyone would eat garbage like that, but Asha just sticks her tongue out like a playful gremlin and reminds him that the king literally said it was mad delicious. She teases him further, saying the king not only liked it but even asked her to come meet him and promised to reward her. She notices that the little boy is glowing faintly, which clearly means he secretly likes it, so she insists that he can have another one. Acting all tough like a wannabe main character, he makes it clear that there is no way he is going to eat it, but his glow totally betrays him, since his eyes keep drifting back to the brownie like it's some legendary loot drop. Still, he doubles down and declares with his whole chest that he won't eat it. Asha, with dramatic flair, points out that this is the same cake the king himself praised, and she acts all exaggerated like he's actually cursing the royal cake itself. This finally gets him heated enough to snatch the cake from her hands. Asha thinks to herself that since this little boy is going to grow into a great man someday, she's going to let him slide this time. She reminds him not to forget to give it to Marquisaire. Just then, another boy pops out of nowhere, yelling at this annoying little dude, but the annoying boy simply bumps past him with big main character energy and walks into the carriage to leave. Asha can't help but wonder if it's just because he's still a kid, but honestly, he calmed down way too fast after eating that cake. PB casually drops to her that it's actually because she herself baked it, which is why it worked so well.